Here, I have a setup here that I'm working on. This is not finalized, of course, but this is going to go on here. And I'm just going to plop it on there for the moment. Probably not on that particular gear because it's too sloppy. But probably on the next one up or the larger one. And then the rear one, you swing it down in here. The rear one is not attached yet. This one here has to be welded on yet. And that's the one that's going to have the chain coming down from the motor. And this whole unit will slide in further once I make a couple of modifications. And the way this is working out is this sprocket has a square shaft tapered, so I'm going to have to make a little bit more modification yet. But this happens to be a 5/8 half-inch socket, and it just happens to fit perfectly inside of this sprocket. See that? And it has a square shaft on it too. And if you look down here, if I get out of the light, the shaft where the pedal used to be, that has a square shaft. But this is tapered square shaft. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of a modification. Whoa! I'm going to have to do a little bit of a modification to this unit here. To get it to work properly. Let me back this out, I'm in too close. Woo! I'm going to have to do a little bit of a modification to get this work properly because this is not tapered. But as you can see, it actually does start on there. And so that's a good start. And whether I file the shaft on the main shaft here, if I file this down and make it square, or if I decide to taper this out, either way it'll work. And then I need this sprocket to be back in here further to get it to line up on the chainsaw motor. This will need to go back in here to line up with the sprocket that's going to go on there. But I'm figuring I can weld this onto the back of here, right onto that socket. But I'm going to have to weld that socket onto this first. The problem is that this is a ratcheting sprocket, you know, like you use, comes off the back of a 10-speed, 18-speed, 16-speed, whatever. And so it's got things in here, so I may end up just welding this whole thing solid so I don't have the ratchet. I've already determined that there's not going to be any pedals on this, too many hassles. But the idea is that this will go on here like that, and then get the chain on the back wheel, and this chain, doing it backwards here, but chain will come off of the motor and go down to the rear sprocket here. It goes small, a little bit bigger, then it's going to drop down a little bit smaller, and then by the time it gets to the back wheel, it's going to go back up bigger again. And yeah, it's too high up on that sprocket right now. But it will work. Trust me. Yeah, I had it on there. And I was concerned about that rear sprocket being a little bit warped. It doesn't seem like it's going to make too much of a difference one way or the other once I get it all straightened out here. This is nothing, it's just sitting on there. So anyway, that's how that's going. Now, all of that talking, what do you do when you haven't got a lathe? and you need to turn something and make it relatively true. This is the clutch, outside of the clutch for the chainsaw. And I have started grinding the teeth off of here. And I need some spacers in here. These are 3 0.16 wrenches to keep this so it doesn't run off of there. And this is all running down to a vintage. And did I say vintage? Look at the handle on that thing. This is a vintage hand grinder, and I popped the grinding wheel off it. I was trying to use it with the original grinding wheel on there. The belt kept sliding off, so I decided I'll put a pulley on here instead. And I've got that. Oh, actually, I could take these vice grips off now. That was supposed to be my guide before, when I had the grinding wheel still on there. So the idea is this. This is kind of a Rube Goldberg setup. And this is a shade tree. I'm sure this is a shade tree Fix-It Man first. Put your file on here, you know, because we got to get this filed right. And it would work better if I had somebody to run the grinder for me. One of you guys volunteer to come and crank the grinder for me? I thought you might enjoy that because, you know, in case you get into a situation where you need to be able to do something like this, you know. Yeah. This is the official Shade Tree Fix-It Man fence blade. Well, it's got a ways to go, but it's working. This old man's getting tired cranking that thing. I wish one of you young guys would show up and help out. It's time for me to go in for the night, I think. Thanks for watching. Bye now, and I bet you thought I was kidding. Yep, 6 o'clock here, time for the old man to go in. I wanted to spend some time out here because I'm having a heat wave. Did I say a heat wave? Yeah, check that out. 42 degrees out here in the shop. Got to make hay while the sun shines.